All right, guys, super pumped today. We are in Charleston at Boomtown Unite. Got a superstar with me, Todd Crockett, the Crockett team out of Cleveland. Let's get going.
All right, let's roll.
All right, guys, pretty cool today. Listen, I first found out about Todd Crockett. I've been in this business a little longer than I like to let people know sometimes because it makes me feel old. But back in the mid-'90s, oh man, it's been over 20 years ago.
Yep.
I used to be a part of this group called Star Power, which was we got little cassettes sent to us in the mail by Howard Brinton's group, and it talked about who was doing the business in a big way. This was before teams were even popular, you know. And I remember receiving this one month with Todd as the star for the month, and that's been, gosh, over 20 years ago, man. It's been a long journey, hasn't it?
Has been.
I know. So what I'm excited about today is sometimes as we see the business change over time, the influence of technology, all these new things. What are you seeing, though, that's kind of stayed the same? What do you see as technology's doing for us, but what we really need to stay focused on?
One thing that's remained consistent is the person with the most certainty has the most influence. So you have to make sure your delivery is concise and on point that makes people feel comfortable following your leadership and taking the next move. And when you say cassettes, all of a sudden I'm like, that really dates me. That's when you know I got old school street cred. You heard that right, people? Cassettes, not CDs, cassettes. That's how you know you got street cred. And it was luckily fortunate that Howard Brinton interviewed our family, the Crockett team, my mother, Judy Crockett, David Crockett, actually my sister Melissa was involved at that point. So we were the first Star Power team. So we're like the original team of real estate that we were interviewed by Star Power. Then we became on to be Star Power cadre members. So we actually teach the Star Power University. So I spent a decade training agents on improving their presentation, adding more value to the clients, just being comfortable in the delivery, knowing what questions to ask so you become a better listener. Because they always say whoever talks the most dominates the conversation. Whoever asks the most questions controls the conversation.
Absolutely.
And those are things that we just practice at Star Power. We spent 2.5 days doing that. Now we're helping doing that with agents with technology. Because now, if there's ever training, you're kind of watching a video. Well, I could watch 1,000 hours of video. It won't make me a karate expert or black belt. I'll get my ass kicked. You have to do the moves. And that's what we do with our agents is, hey, do the moves, do the reps, get comfortable. So when you're in that situation, you're ready to go. So we don't even consider it role-playing in our office. It's just like sparring partners. You know what I mean? Because if you can hang, you got to get in the octagon, do a little sparring, so when you're with clients, you're comfortable.
It's absolutely true. And I would say this, what's sad sometimes is that a lot of people actually do their training in the ring.
Oh, yeah.
They're showing up at a listing appointment without ever preparing for it.
Yeah.
So one of the things, too, is happening right now, a lot of times we see, especially newer agents, is they get so focused on what I call the quick candy they eat of buyers and buyer leads. Tell me about focusing on listings. What's the value, obviously, the listings being the main part of the business, and where do you focus on?
That's really what we've transitioned as a team is we had brought on buyers agents to have a surplus of buyers. Now we realize with the market shift, you have to train agents to be prospecting agents, to go after listings, whether it's around their neighborhood and sphere where they're most comfortable, and then going after for sale by owners and expired, so they're comfortable doing that. And now it's a matter with agents coming in with more of an internship mentorship role where they can come through and literally sit down. When I do an MVA, having them understand what I'm going to pull on the property. I tell them before I go on a listing appointment, I become an investigative reporter doing a story on that property. I'm going to pull up any MLS history. I'm going to pull up the realist, which gives us recorded mortgage liens. And when I say every MLS history, I'm going to all the way from every single transfer, because two owners ago may have put on a new roof. The current owner doesn't know the exact date. So you want to know everything. You want to pull up the Zestimate so I can tell the seller, I'm sorry, it's inaccurate, but you want to know, did they pull it up? What's their perception of value? So the more information you go in, you can take a newer agent, give them more street cred because they're going to have done more preparation than somebody that thinks they know the market because they've been around longer.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And that's the problem now is I think sometimes what happens is we just kind of go into these appointments with just basic information. And that's what everybody does.
Yeah.
And so how do you want to make yourself stand out? How do you really want to do that? When you know how to research a place, when you know how to present that, when you know how to ask the right questions, it really makes all the difference. So you've been doing this now for a little while.
Okay.
Let's say that you were
2 decades.
a couple of decades,
half,
right?
yeah.
So let's talk about the fact that, hey, listen, if you were to start over now, knowing everything you know, what would you focus on? What would be the things that you would do to really generate your business, start your business in a way that maybe you miss some of the pitfalls that maybe we all walk through as we've been through here for a few decades?
Sure, and basically doing the same thing as I bring on agents now, and bringing them onto the point of letting them learn the business by, first off, knowing how to pull everything on a property, because it's going to make you more confident when you're on a listing appointment or representing a buyer, negotiating on that buyer's behalf.
Right.
What comps you're going to pull, in which we call now relevant sales, because every seller says nothing's comparable to their property, but what is a relevant sale? We're going to go through that. I essentially, when we go after for sale by owners and expires, I'm going to say, let me do a marketing diagnostics test on your property. So I can see what that agent missed, how I'm going to market the property, what we do differently. So I have agents do that, along with I have them learn to even make pre-calls, what we call pre-calls out to showing agents, and saying, hey, Jamie, I see you're showing the property over at Idlewood Drive tomorrow. I was giving some feedback to my seller, so I want to touch base real quick. If your people like it, when would they like to move in?
Yeah.
How many houses have they looked at? But if you call an agent before the showing, first thing they're thinking is what? Is it under contract?
Right.
Oh, wait, why are you calling me before the showing?
Right.
But so that it kind of alerts them there. Now you have a little bit more rapport, and I find out how many in the household, what they're looking for, and then I can call that seller and say, here's who's coming to your house.
That's great.
Sellers love that, especially if they have a whole bunch of children and stuff. So sometimes I can call the seller and say, you know what? That showing, you don't have to scramble. They basically looked at 200 houses. They haven't even put their house on the market yet. Let's push them to the open house.
Right.
Or I can say, you know what? That person's coming in from relocation from Dallas, Texas. They're buying in 48 hours. Clean the house.
Yes.
Get the kids out.
Yeah.
You know, they want to know that, hey, is this worth my time?
Right.
Pre-calls will let them know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I would say this too. As we're getting ready to kind of really gear now, this time of year, we're getting into our springtime. Pretty much every market in the country, this is the busy time. Going into summer, spring, this is when families are moving. This is when people are making decisions on our coastal market to spend their summers, where they're going to purchase. So this is the time really when there's certain parts of the year where maybe you think, oh, well, I've got all this momentum. Now's my time to really dive in. One of the things that I would love for you to speak on is the consistency of following the business. Yeah. Because I hear this sometimes, agents are like, oh, I'm going to work really hard, and then they fade at the end of the year. But in reality, it's that consistency. What about you? I mean, how do you set your day up in a way, or your year up in a way where you're having that consistency?
You're making a shift, and one of our new agents, Nina, has already led the way with it. It's literally the calendar out and blocking it color-coded. So she's got the prospecting scenario in there. Black 2 hours in the morning, she's going to be prospecting. Other items in there, so you know what your key items are. And we always say, you know, put your big rocks in first, because real estate, you're going to get pulled in 1,000 directions. So your big rocks being, what's the most important thing to you? Time with the family, whether it's working out. And it's just, one time a philosopher came on stage with a jar, and he put the big rocks in, and he asked the group, is it full? They said yes. Then he put pebbles in, then he put sand in, then he put water in. But the intent of the story is, you cannot put your big rocks in after you put sand, pebbles, and water. They don't fit. And that's why we always teach our agents, you tell clients, I'm sorry, I've got an appointment at 5 o'clock. I can do it either 3 o'clock or 7 o'clock, whatever it may be. But any family commitments, personal commitments, that's an appointment. Then you become more of a, what you want to do is you want to transition from the perception that you are a commodity as an agent, replaceable with anybody, to a rare natural resource.
Absolutely.
That's what you want to convey. And what it comes down to, your question is, you have to have discipline with your schedule, then know what to prioritize, what is dollar productive activities.
Right.
So all of a sudden, I'm supposed to prospect, but now I've got a multiple offer on one of my listings. Well, I'll shift to prospecting. But you don't want to, if you don't have anything in your schedule, what they'll say is, white spots in your schedule's the devil, because that's when the drunk monkey comes out. Next thing you know, oh, let me see, you want to have lunch, you're drinking margaritas at 11 o'clock, and then I'll prospect after. You won't. So you got to have it scheduled and get it done that way.
Yeah.
What I've also realized is people intend to train and practice, but they don't schedule that. You literally have to schedule it as an appointment, like with yourself in your calendar. Send an email. Send it with your team. If you want your team to practice, you set up an appointment and just email it to block it in their schedule.
Yeah.
Block it to practice on your presentation.
Absolutely, absolutely. Listen, guys, I'm going to have all the contact information for Todd and the Crockett team down below. If you're on YouTube, it'll be down in the comments section. If you're watching this on Facebook, it'll be in the comments section down there also. But listen, just want to say thank you. Listen, if you want to get around, this is contagious. You get around somebody that's excited about the business, you can't help but get excited about the business. So thank you, Todd. We'll talk to you guys soon.